Okay. Okay. So, hi again. I'm Rochelle Plummer. I am an intern in the Prairie View Agriculture Mechanical Principalship Program. And so we are doing our second video, which is our assessment. No, it's our focus group. Our first video is our needs assessment. And we're focused on ESL growth strategies, moving our students from advanced to advanced high. And so what we're going to do is, let me see. Am I right? Oh, okay. We're gonna start with our group norms. So we decided this last time, but we disagree with opinions, not people. Be positive and present, and then the last one is we all have valuable information to share, so please share it. And that's my little opinion when I give the goals. And so, okay, so now we're gonna move on to who's in the room. So of course, as you know, I'm Rochelle Plummer. Of course, I do ESL science. This is my 6th year in education. And yeah. So we're just gonna do introductions like that.
Preston Broussard, 8th grade science, 4th year in education.
Haley Allison, Algebra 1. I think this is about my 8th or 9th year in education.
Okay, Taryn Koenig, ESL Social Studies, 6th, 7th, and 8th, supporting newcomers and our ESL students. This is my 8th year in education.
Okay. All right, hello everyone. Also, one thing I want to say is I really do appreciate you taking your time. Like, I'm actually taking your time, so I appreciate you taking your valuable time and meeting with me, talking with me. And so I just wanted to say that again. Okay, so I'm gonna move. Y'all remind me if I'm not, if y'all don't, like if y'all see me tapping here, I'm not tapping here, just give me a little signal. Okay. So day one, designing targeted strategy. So we're going to build a foundation for growth by advanced to advanced high students. So today we'll focus on like designating and talking about those classroom strategies, and just also kind of brainstorming. We talked about a little bit about barriers, but what are some barriers that we can overcome to make sure that we can implement this thing with fidelity? Okay, so session purpose. So refine targeted strategies for growth, ensure consistency across content areas, and build teacher collaboration cross curriculum. Any questions? Okay, and then also discuss how to apply these strategies not real life, but real time. So let's go back to a little bit of reflection. Reflection. So I'm gonna look at some data that we talked about. So our state data with Topaz writing. So we know our beginning level students 6%. At the beginning level, at the intermediate level, we have about 36%. At the advanced level, we have about 44%, and at the advanced high, about 14%. Now, here's our campus snapshot. So we have about 215 ED students. We have 27% dually served, that's in ESL and SPED. And then we have 90% currently at advanced with a small percent at advanced high. And one of our key accountability measures is Topaz data. Okay, so we'll move on to reflection. So what's working, what's challenging, what support is needed. So right now, what strategies are y'all using? So I'm actually gonna take notes on here, but I just want to kind of go around what strategies are you using right now you know, for writing specifically in your content area that you like consistently do? Like, is it once a month? Is it twice a month? Like, is it every once to 6 weeks? What does that look like in each one of your classes at the moment?
Well, in social studies, it's very academic word, very driven, lots of words that they probably are unfamiliar with. So we do a lot of previewing vocabulary. We also do a lot of pictures, having them mentally create a picture in their mind about the vocabulary word that's gonna help them understand it. So we do a lot of visuals. We have them do a lot of drawing. Also just discussing in class, like, what does this vocabulary mean and how does it relate to the content? And then also like writing about it later on, writing about what we've just learned as like an exit ticket. But of course with sentence stems, definitely the sentence stems help them get started.
Okay, so, do you see this also in Gen Ed, or is that just kind of your class because you are the ESL teacher? Do you see the same strategies like when you go to the Gen Ed children, you know, to IEPs that are not served and shows for a newcomer?
So I do see a lot of visuals, a lot of visual supports for the Gen Ed class. They use a lot of visuals. They do a lot of drawing and doing that mental images and creating it on picture. They do a lot of unpacking like the vocabulary, and they do a lot of previewing vocabulary. But when it comes to the writing aspect, they need more help with this, and like getting started with the sentence stems. Or maybe not for the more advanced CAP classes. They don't like them to rely too heavily on sentence stems, but for, you know, our different ability learners, our different learning ability, they definitely need that help with the sentence stems too. And especially when we're getting into our extended construction responded for our STAR tests.
So since the beginning of the year, like, how often do you think that y'all write in social studies? Like, how often do you think that they're getting those writing opportunities?
The only times I see them getting the writing opportunities would be like at the end of the exit, like at the end of their assignment, they'll have like a brief prompt asking them what they learned, and they just explain it. And I noticed that the students kind of just skip that. They get through and then they just kind of skip the last part of the writing. And we really don't get more in depth into writing until close to testing time, when they have to see it on their ECRs, see it on their tests, their ECRs and their SCRs.
So for math, part of the supports that we have, especially when it's vocabulary related, if there's a visual option, color coding. So for example, we have exponential functions. I have a picture of the exponential function with identifying the parts of it, you know, off to the side. And for example, asymptote, I write that in pink. I indicate where it is on the graph in pink.
Okay.
So that they're able to make connections between the vocabulary word and what it looks like visually. We also do short constructed responses. Ideally, in a perfect world, thinking about next year, those would be probably every other week. That was our intention, but with that not being pushed until towards the end of the first semester, we started it this second semester, but now we're getting into STAR review time, and so that is something that we've kind of traded off for. But we have been utilizing writing and written responses, not just in warm-ups and exit tickets, which we are doing, but even in the assignment themselves. We've been doing a lot of error analysis where they are having to use their words to explain why something is wrong and what the correct answer is, or vice versa, they're explaining why something was done correctly and how you know it's correct. So I would say they do have some sort of written response that we are going over at least once a week. Now, it might be something that they're just answering in 1 to 2 sentences. It may be something that's 3 to 5, depending on how we're facilitating it. But one of the big pushes that we've just, me and Santana have talked about as Algebra 1 teachers is why not push for the writing? Because it's gonna support all the other subjects. Now, I will say, with some of it, we are keeping in mind that, hey, we're just getting y'all used to writing. I'm not expecting things to be perfect. I'll leave comments saying, hey, next time, here's how this word's spelled. Or make sure you're capitalizing the first letter of a sentence and things like that. But right now, we just want them to write and get comfortable with it. And I'm trying to think of anything else, but it's pretty well embedded into our day-to-day.
Yeah, and kind of like you said with history, with the vocab, getting them to be able to write. I try to do it like we do word walls, where they have a word and they have to create a picture that represents that word, and then they have to give a sentence, either using that word or a definition in their own words. So it's trying to get them to think through it and then write it down. So we use a lot of pictures. We write pretty regularly. We're using the short constructive response, but I think as a school we use the RAP method. So we're getting them used to that because we were using something different. So we've been writing a lot more, especially once we decided we're gonna do the RAP method to get them used to being able to restate, answer, and prove. Yeah.
So, do y'all have to where, like, we have a word, but the teacher, like, initially is showing the word with the picture? Or is it more so the word, but I want you to create? And is it that the students are creating, or they're going to do the research and finding the picture? What does that kind of look like?
So normally what I'll have is I'll have an example of my word wall. They can't use my pictures though.
Okay.
I want them to come up with their own. And a lot of times Google is blocked in my class because I want them to think. They're not thinking, they're just Googling, and whatever Google tells them, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to push them a little bit to be okay with pushing through the struggle.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to think and
The perseverance.
process. Yeah.
Because we know that with writing, you have to, you do have to have some perseverance.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I just think back when I was first entering like 2020, the different strategies we used. But then I also think back to like my school days. Like, what's so funny is that when I was in school, my K-12, like I was strong in ELAR social studies, but I'm a stronger math science teacher, which is funny. But I remember just the different strategies that we used, and I'm not sure why some of them moved away. But we're slowly bringing them back, like the pre-planning to writing. Like, you kind of have to write some, like, think about it, and then you want to write. You just don't want to just go in there because you will get stuck. And you'll be like, Miss, I don't know what word to say. You just kind of have to, script out a little bit, or maybe just like use the, the thinking, the word in the middle, and then you have some thinking bubbles attached to it. So that's just some of the things that I think about. But I'm just gonna kind of repeat back what I've heard.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Like, going back on that, we have the the guess strategy. So that helps them with their writing as well, because the guess is what's given. So they have to look at whatever the problem is or whatever the prompt is, what information is given so that you can use that later on. So that helps with that pre-thinking, pre-planning strategy.
Yeah, I think, it used to be and I know it's brainstorming, but it used to be they used to call it with something with but I can't think of it right now. When we were in school, but it's a word, and I'm like, bring that word back. It's a word, but I can't think of it right now. Like, I just moved like the
It was
pre-play.
the brainstorming.
Maybe just the
Yeah.
brainstorming, you know, just like bring that back. Like we have to think like kind of we have to think about the thinking, we have to think about the writing before we push them to begin to write, because for so long we kind of just like, oh, this is for Eli, and then we realize you don't know how to write anyway, baby.
Yeah.
You're not writing anywhere. Okay, so social studies, we do a lot of previewing vocabulary, student creating things. We have a lot of our exit tickets. But we notice sometimes our kids like to skip out of them. So math. So we have a lot of coding, which is good. So like expounding whatever you said in the math word. We have the word that's color coded pink, which is great for creating that visual. And then you said y'all are pushing more now, but you see that it started a lot toward the end of the first semester.
Yes, whenever we had that like original training on the rap responses,
Yes.
like we jumped right in, but then you hit Christmas break, then we came back, we're doing it, and now we're hitting stars, so it's like, okay. So, but so to make up for the less structured writing, we're still including it. And by less structured, I mean not an SCR, because we were having them do SCRs for math.
Yes.
So we're just making sure we hit it somewhere in an exit ticket, somewhere in a warm up, or on their homework, error, maybe their assignment's error analysis, and they're writing there. So whatever we're losing in the structured setting, we are trying to make up
In
throughout.
other places.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds good. And then social studies, we have a lot of the rap method. A lot of, you said given? I think that's right. Given?
Yes.
The guess method. But we did talk about, you know, utilizing more of the brainstorming and getting kids to have their persevering through writing
The struggle.
through the struggle. Okay, so now what we're gonna talk about, we're gonna jump into the why. Like, we're gonna talk about the why that they're struggling, why they're avoiding the, you know, the exit tickets, the why. I think, maybe, hold on. Okay, root causes. So, why are students plateauing in advance? Why is vocabulary instruction inconsistent? How is content-specific language vocabulary being explicitly taught? Why do students disengage socially and academically during these terms? And so I just want to kind of open up the floor and just talk about this a little bit more.
It just popped into my
we can be honest, y'all. Like, this isn't like, I got you, you're doing something wrong. We're talking about the why, because something may be going on in math that may help science, something may be going on in math that helps social studies. So I think that's why it's important for us, you know, to have that cross curriculum. So we're facilitating these conversations and we're talking about the things of what is stopping this from happening.
I think a lot of teachers, like, it's very easy to fall back on the education we had. I never had to write in a class that was not writing, except when I was in chemistry writing lab reports. That is the only content specific writing I really ever did. I was a strong writer, but I don't know how that would have looked if I would have had to write free response answers in math or social studies. And I mean, I feel like I'm not that far removed from, you know, the education our kids are getting, but none of the tax test. I was the last group of tax testers. The only test we had to do a written response for was our English test. We did not have to do it for science or for social studies or for math. It was all multiple choice. And so I think that the bar has moved up. I don't think we have necessarily taken the kids and teachers with us.
That is deep. And you know what? Can I be honest with you? That was a problem that I had myself. It was that why are my sped babies not moving? The reality is some of the things I want them to move in, I haven't been trained in. And so I had to personally go and seek this training for myself, you know, do my own kind of data digging, And I'm seeing it in real time and how it's moving my kids, and now like how can I help other teachers with what I've learned? And that is very true. The bar is here, but where is the training for that? And then you do things that you think that you know to do, but then you're not seeing the results. And then you really don't have anybody to have these conversations because, like you said, the bar is here, but have teachers and students both been taken here?
And I know, at least while I was in my teacher programs, I was discouraged from getting my EL certification. Like, I'll say informally, discouraged from ever being ESL or SPED certified because, in quote unquote, those are the kids you'll end up working with. Like, it's a negative thing. So at A&M, they put us in an ESL program, so we had to take our certification test. You did not have to pass it, but you had to take it. But a lot of your maybe jaded teachers would encourage you not to pass because those are the kids you'll get. So even the attitude around teaching different populations of kids was negative, at least when I was going through. Like, it's like, and you know, you even hear that now at job fairs. If you're going to apply for math, but they see you have a SPED certification, they try and steer you that way. But we gotta work with those kids. Like, they're part of our society. You know, where are they gonna go when they grow up, when they're 18, if they don't have good people investing in them? But I think even just the stigmas around being, like, teaching these groups of students is very pervasive in the education industry.
And that is something very true. That is something that's the elephant in the room we don't talk about. And that's why we're having these conversations. Maybe some of our teachers, they don't know how because they've had people like this. And that's a big problem. And now, because laws have changed, things have changed, they're integrated into our general ed population. And we see like, oh, our scores and stuff going down. Yeah, because we don't have the differentiation for all of the students. And because we don't have it for all, well, they suffering too. Because they ain't here with everybody. So not everybody is we going like this in writing. And so while we are focused on ESL, don't forget, y'all, these strategies, while they will move your ESL kids, and I can say that with my chest down because I've seen it, it will move other populations as well.
Oh, yes.
It will. But for the sake of time, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna go down to the why do students disengage socially and academically?
Can we hold on to that?
But that's tied into it now.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just gonna say that I think some of it is that struggle. Like, once they get to the place where they struggle, they just shut down. They don't know how to, I guess maybe it was my parents, but hey, you can do hard things. Keep going. Keep trying. Keep trying.
And maybe
And they
that's
don't
why
have
they
that.
plateau at that advance.
Because you realize I'm here, you know, and then so when you see that in your classroom, what are things that you have tried to do that work, or do you know the strategies? And that's kind of what we're asking now. Like,
Honestly, I've only been in education 4 years, but I feel like I'm more of a cheerleader than anything, because they're so adverse to that struggle. Their self-esteem and whatnot is really low. So trying to build them up to realize, hey, you can do this.
Yes.
It's okay to struggle. Like in my class, they get stuff wrong, but at the beginning, they would struggle with being able to give wrong answers. And I'm okay with you giving wrong answers. That's how we're gonna learn. That's how we're gonna fix it. That's how we're gonna grow. So making an environment where it's safe to mess up, because messing up is part of the learning.
and I tell them, hey y'all, that's why I have a job. Like, you're literally here because, like, that's why we have a job. Like, it's okay for you not to know, but it's not okay for you not to try. You know, and so that is a big piece, like you said. The students, I don't want to get it wrong. So instead of getting it wrong, I'm not gonna say anything. But we know when they're not engaged and not asking those questions, those dendrites are not moving, they're not growing, and what happens? You see the plateau. for the sake of time, we are gonna stop there. But tomorrow, we will pick up with our pizza, this conversation.
I saw somewhere that.
I think, can you use that error?
It didn't work yesterday.
Oh.
Okay. Alright, so we'll start back today. Finishing up. This is our focus meeting for growing our ESL kids from advanced to advanced high. We did introductions, and today we are pretty much, yesterday we talked about the root causes. We kind of finished touching on that, before we had to kind of pause our session. So this is still the second session, where we're moving our kids from advanced to advanced high. So this meeting is all about more about the implementation. So how will it be done? So, one thing we also talked about is what we're already doing. And then I'll bring in some things that I'm doing that I know is working and moving my data. And so we can kind of talk about that. I learned that I currently have the highest ESL kids for the district. Like my science kids are the highest in the district at the moment. And so maybe some of the things that I'm doing that you can take back into your classroom and you can share. So what I'll do is, starting when we come back from spring break, I will send once a week, just kind of like a little checklist. So that's kind of how I'll keep track of data and things like that. But we'll talk about like, what are we gonna track? Who are we gonna track? So I would like to do one class, like we all pick one class and we kind of implement these things. You can do more, but just for the sake of data tracking, I wouldn't ask y'all, because I do appreciate you taking the time to even meet with me and help me out here. So, I'm gonna be respectful of your time and your resources as well. So once a week, usually I like Fridays. I like to send things on Fridays. So just click, 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 boom, I have my data. And then the next meeting, we'll come back and we'll talk about, did the implementation work? Okay, so root causes. So one of the things we talk about is, why are students plateauing in advance? Why is vocabulary instruction inconsistent? How is content-specific language vocabulary being explicitly taught? And why do students disengage socially? And we had a really good discussion about that. And so one thing that I want to kind of focus on is just a few strategies that I use, but then also like, hey, if you know it won't work for you as a group, let's come to consensus, because we want everybody kind of essentially doing the same things. Now you can't tailor for math, so of course, like I'm like, oh, content specific words you won't be using biodiversity because you teach math and so forth and so which. So strategy one. So one thing we did talk about yesterday is, like I said, the things that you already do. So everybody is already doing some type of writing. Now we know it hasn't really been consistent for numerous factors. Number one, it's really not embedded into our curriculum the way that it should be consistently. Maybe once a month, maybe once in 6 weeks. But for my class specifically, so hidden from day one, you don't have to hit the ordinary speaking, listening, speaking, writing, reading. So from day one, my ESL kids are doing it. Now they're doing it in unknown ways. It's like the All About Me and those type of things, and where they're presenting and they're talking. But like I want to help you use some of these strategies in your room. Like I would like to see you two times a week, at a minimum, at least once a week, and even with your kids that you're supporting. Okay, so provide tier 2 and tier 3 power words for the unit. So I think we all should be wrapping up a unit or going into a unit, if I'm correct. We all should be wrapping up a unit, going into the unit. So I challenge you to take those words, those content specific words, and just have like before class, like even take a bit of warm-up time and just go over it with those students. Like go, and with a picture, like explicitly go over, we did biodiversity, we have biodiversity, talk about savannas, like have a picture of the rainforest, have a picture of, just words you're gonna use, like for the week, for the next 2 weeks, and it doesn't have to be long, right? Just give students the exposure. And what I And what I will also do is use your interactive notebook. So one thing that we want to like let our kids that are 8th grade, we want to just is like facilitate independency. And we want them to take accountability for their learning. So while we're giving you the tools, every tool I give my children, I check for it. So if it's not there, like, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna take a grade over this. Like, even though you're doing your guide notes, like, I'm gonna look and see if it's done. So, like, giving them, like, using your PowerPoint, I think there's a way when you print it, you can put like 6 slides or 3 slides and just print out and have them put it into their interactive notebook. So if they have questions, I'm all about 3 before me. Don't ask me till you ask 3 friends, you ask 3 resources, then you come and ask me. So that takes some of the weight off of teacher. You want more student led, like, hey, you need to be able to find these things. You need to be able to access things. I'm giving you this list. Now it's time for you to utilize it. Does that make sense? So I would like that for our next unit, like I said, coming back from spring break, to have those words, you know, explain, if you're doing exponents, like have exponent up there with the word, or even like words specific to like what they're doing, you know, right now, what are y'all doing?
Quadratic functions.
So what would a word problem look like?
It could say, given this quadratic function, identify the factors,
Okay.
or identify the zeros of the function.
So go over some of that, comes like the zero function, go over factors, you know, real quick, and it doesn't have to be long, because some of this stuff they should have learned a while ago, but just really brief. So they're seeing it, they're seeing like, what is it kind, and then have like a picture of it, like some kind of picture, some kind of, so they're identifying the picture with the word, you know. While it's great for kids to create words, for our EB students, they are going to struggle with that. Because some of our kids come over here from their home country, some of them have came from different schools, so they have a little bit more. But we, like this week, we have a student here fresh from Mexico, like he's from Mexico, he's here. So he would know what we did last semester, what we did last year. And I just challenge you to use that in your class. Like, it's great for them to be able to create, but for the first introduction of it, give them a picture. And like I said, it does not have to be long. So quick, real quick, like 5, 6 minutes of just going through a PowerPoint. This is this, and then print it and have them put it in there. And check and make sure they did it. Check and make sure it's in there. The next thing that I would use is I would use warm-ups. I know some of us do it, but I would really use that time. That's where I get a lot of bang for my buck when it comes to their writing piece. Cause you always have time for warm-ups, right? And it's really good. I know we like to use online things, but I would challenge you to take whatever you have in Canvas and put it on the slideshow and have them to write it out in their interactive notebooks. They're used to, you know, they're getting used to penmanship, you know, and as time goes, you can go back to kind of the Canvas method, but just for right now, just to kind of get them more exposure, have them pen and pencil. You know, and studies have shown when students are writing, they have higher retention. So what do y'all think about that? Talk to me. What do you think that looks like in your class? Do you think it'll be successful?
I think for sped populations, multimodal learning is extremely important. Sit and get doesn't work for a lot of students, and especially for our students that might be dually served or something like that. You're already working through academic language might be a struggle, even if we have a strong grasp of the language, but if we're still learning, we're still like maybe just fresh on a newcomer, that sort of thing. Have that in there, so giving them other opportunities to, okay, you write it down, you tell me what it means, use it in a sense, like, really playing with these different words helps really bone up academic language.
It does, and can I be honest, like y'all, we can have the best lessons. This is something I learned, because every year in education, my population is very different. Every year is different. And this year, y'all, I truly got some EB students, like true EB. Like, I've never had any exposure to the English language or the English culture. That is a challenge within itself. There's a lot of kids here like that. They're coming here and they have no exposure. And so, if they don't have a solid grasp of concept to image, no matter how great your lesson is, you're gonna go on and you're gonna build, and they're gonna be clueless, and you're gonna get to the unit test, you're gonna get to KLA, you're gonna get to these assessments, and you're gonna see, you don't know what we're doing. You have no clue about what we're doing. So I encourage you to slow that train down and and try it. Of course, we'll come back and we'll talk about our data. So what do y'all think? do you think it's something you can do? And even if you need assistance with that, I'm here, I'm happy to help with that. I'm happy to help you pull some of those words, show you how to even use some of your AI tools to correct that stuff. Like, you know, work smarter, not harder.
I like it too because, you know, we keep saying like, we have 1 foot in the rest of this year and then 1 foot going into next year,
Yes.
because I like these discussions and thinking about these strategies because, you know, I'm ready to hit the ground running, you know, for next year
Mhm.
while finishing this year out strong. I mean, I like providing them the picture and the word, just giving it to them to start off, because I'm thinking of the books that my like 1.5-year-old reads, how it has the picture and the word, the picture and the word, and the picture and the word. And she has been exposed to those books so often that now, hey, she sees the picture, she knows what word that is.
Yes.
She sees the word, she knows what it looks like. I say the word, she can point to the thing, she can find it.
Yes.
Or I point to
Yes.
the thing, she can say the word.
Mhm.
So it's that repetition and that
Mhm.
exposure, especially because it's not that the kids that we are teaching are toddlers, but you have no grasp of the English language, like you
Correct.
have to start somewhere.
Mhm.
And
that
so-
helps, I mean, that's the definition for multimodal learning.
Mhm.
It's like, I'm seeing an example of it, I'm seeing how it's written out, I'm hearing it, which means that you're hitting your people who learn orally, you're hitting your people who learn visually, you're hitting your people that learn orthographically.
I think also it's breaking down your barriers as a teacher, because I do think when you're in the thick of it, you get to these situations and you're like, you should know this already. And you
Yes.
get yourself real worked up, and I feel like you almost feel like a little bit of defiance about providing this stuff. It's like, why do I need to provide this? You should already know it.
Yeah.
But whenever you take that step back and you're like, wait, if I provide it, it's also gonna help me,
Mhm.
because it's gonna help the kid. It's gonna help them to retain the information. They're gonna perform better. So you're front loading the work, yes, but it ends up with a good payoff. Like, I
Correct.
see people that want to refuse to implement accommodations because they're like, oh, it's a cat kid. I shouldn't have to give them extra time. I shouldn't have to give them this. But if you work with the kid and it's something that works for them, why would you not take the win for yourself and the child?
And you truly don't know what their base is like. I mean, we have kids where you're like, oh, you guys haven't gone over this at Main Creek. Main Creek is within our school district, it's 10 minutes away, 15 maybe. You have no concept of what they're coming to you with from,
Wherever.
like, if they're fresh from Mexico, or they're like, their family's coming in from the Dominican, or you have people coming in from, I know we have a student up in 6th grade that is fresh from Thailand.
Yes.
Like, you have no idea what their base is. So this truly might be the first time they've ever grappled with this concept, ever. And then they also not have the scaffolding beneath that concept, especially
Correct.
for things like algebra and stuff like that, where it's like it's building on so much, literal years of like foundational concepts that have pulled them to that point.
Mhm. I agree.
But like you said, with the kids that even they've had exposure to it brings it back to their memory, right? It brings it back to the forefront, so it helps with front loading, so it'll help with that lesson.
Yes, and I've seen it in real time, and that is one of the things that I have done. Like, that is one of the powerful things. And like I said, I don't do it every single day. Go over these words every single day, and then also I take the lesson and I upload it to Canvas. So if they need it, I don't tell them to act I'm done though. If they need it, it's there, but it's also here. So it kind of gives them a responsibility of, I know it's there. So when they need to do things, they're going to use their tools. Because like you said, if they don't have, it's just, you think like, oh, I should know this, but then you kind of, our train is so fast moving, you don't think about these things in the thick of it. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're having this conversation.
And helping them have that independence. I think on one of the slides, the difference between high and advanced high was that independent part, and just giving them that opportunity to have that independence.
No, that is really one of the big major differences in those descriptive words. Well, how do they use descriptive words if they're not exposed to it, you know? And so you're hitting a double whammy of, you have your tools, you go, and if you see my class, like when they came in, our district people came in and like watched, one of the biggest things is is very student led. I'm at the beginning, I'm more, hands on, but toward like Christmas, after Thanksgiving break, I'm backing off slowly, and you're in charge. Like, hey, you have to take ownership for your language, because like I said, if we don't help them now, y'all once they get over there, we're on the slope here. So great discussion, but let's move on to strategy number 2. So as a consensus, we like strategy number 1. We were to use that. That's something we will use as a team. Okay. All right, strategy number 2. So weekly CER prompts, and then peer review. So the CER prompts, that can be the same thing as, like I said, your warm-ups. You're gonna have, I think that's a short one.
SCR.
SCR. Yes, so you're gonna pull that in from your warm-ups. You know, I know you may do it every 6 weeks, but my kids, they get it 2 to 3 times a week of writing exposure, which is why I think they're outperforming some of the other ESL kids and things. They have so much exposure to it. We have to tie it in weekly, and I know that's hard to do, which is why I encourage, please use this in your warm-ups. And then one thing that I didn't touch on, but sentence stems. So I have like a sentence stem to start them off. They understand they're responsible for finishing it, you know? So I give them that tool, and they run with the rest. Our kids, if they haven't, like at the beginning of the year, now I would tell you just kind of pull back on your sentence stems, but because we're kind of getting that exposure now, you want to provide, because my kids in some areas, they don't need it. They know how to formulate those sentence stems on their own because they've had so much exposure to it. So along with those writing prompts, and I think we use RAP, don't we? We use RAP. Restate. Our students have to know this for starting, and for everyone else. If they do not restate the prompt, it's automatically a 0. It is automatically a 0. So teaching the kids, even with the warm-up, you need to restate what I'm asking you. And usually I do that with my sentence stem. So they're used to seeing it with the sentence stem, and then they kind of move it so they know that they need to do the same thing. And I think you'll see that, especially because your EB kids are a lot higher than my shelter and newcomer kids. So I think you'll see within the first couple weeks, like, okay, they're getting the hang of this, and they're, you know, they don't really need the sentence stems as much. Peer review. But we're gonna leave that one out. So we agreed to weekly CR prompts using warm-ups. Okay. Move on. Okay, so bilingual resources, if you need them, and also home writing games. Like, I have homework once a week for my kids, and there's some writing in that homework. Now that's where the visual comes in at, so I don't have to like, let me see here. I encourage you to do that. You know, I assign it like weekly because it's only one time, and I gotta, you know, I don't have as much grading because I wanna work smarter, not harder. But also they're writing at home. And then I let my parents know what they're doing. So my parents know, like, okay, this is another grade that I'm taking. This is a homework grade, but they're also getting that exposure to their writing at home, in the home setting. So what do y'all think about, like, essentially like home, like one thing?
What's home
homework.
writing games?
So it'll be just some kind of little fun activity, some little fun thing to do, but they're writing at home with it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is specifically what it has to be, but I'll just kind of leave autonomy to y'all. Maybe the kids a little bit better. Okay. So the next one is collaboration. So monthly ESL PLCs. So what I will do is, like, even after this video, like, I still want to talk about this. Like, I still want to meet with y'all monthly to bring y'all back from what we're doing in our ESL PLCs and talk to y'all once a month. So we're kind of on the same page. So even after this is over, we're still talking and we're still going over things, especially with SPAR coming up. Of course, we're doing that cross-council sharing. We'll do that in our monthly meeting. And then celebrate progress. Like, once we are moving, once we see that data going, like, I want to celebrate that. So what do y'all think about a monthly meeting, something like this, very informal, where we're just kind of talking, and we're chatting?
It's good, it helps your secondary programs not feel so much like an island. Instead, you can definitely feel like a separate entity that kind of operates latched on to Gen Ed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can imagine it's only even more so in ESL because I'm having to hit them every couple of weeks with our teacher input and coming in and informally evaluating my kids.
Yes.
So it helps encourage cross-content collaboration. collaboration,
Mhm.
especially between our secondary programs.
And that's the big thing. I don't want y'all to feel like you're on an island by yourself when it comes to this ESL training, because like we talked about, some of us haven't been trained even how to truly support these kids in the gen ed population. If we're being honest, it's like Texas doesn't require it, it just doesn't happen. Why district does a great job with these trainings, I think this is just kind of an area that we need more training in. What does it actually look like? What does it sound like? How do I know if I'm truly being effective for these students, except for when I'm getting my data and they're going like this? You know? So I did kind of move on. So our monitoring checkpoints will be, of course, our TELPAS. We'll look at TELPAS, we'll look at our data, and then, so our next final steps, plans of action. So our action plan, so what we agreed to is that, provide those words for the students with the visual, give that to them at the beginning and that's to the end of the year. Even if you have to go back, even when like the review start, go back and provide it for them. So since it's finished for warm-ups, and that's where we'll get our weekly CERs, is from the warm-up checks. Utilizing interactive notebooks, that gives kids that accountability piece. It also gives you data, you know, so it's kind of win-win, and then that weekly homework, their writing piece, of, you know, they're writing at home, some kind of fun of writing activities. And then you're also talking to parents, you're also, you know, letting your parents know, hey, I want to help your child in this area, and these things will help, and so forth. And so this will be for our cross-country, I do say campus wide, but our campus is right here. And then we're gonna track growth and celebrate wins. That's good. Okay. So look for, oh, and I'm gonna leave you this quote real quick. So I can still recording. Language unlocks potential, and every student has a story worth hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. ChatGPT could never come up with that quote.
Huh?
Said ChatGPT could never come up with that quote. I feel like every basic salary is used by people every time.